I was riding high, you know? My fiancé, David, was the complete package. Successful, charming, and the kind of man who made other women stop and stare. I honestly thought I'd hit the jackpot, ready to start my life with this stable, wealthy guy. Oh boy, did that whole perfect illusion shatter. Not with a whisper, but with a stomach-dropping text message notification I saw flash on my sister's phone. The sender? David. The content? Gosh, let's just say it wasn't about holiday plans. The first wave of shock was followed by a searing, double-edged betrayal. It wasn't just that David was cheating, it was who he was cheating with. Finding out he was acting as a sugar daddy to my own, much younger sister felt like I'd been hit by 2 separate trucks at once. Holy cow, I realized he hadn't just been exploiting my sister, he had been exploiting me, using our relationship as a respectable shield while he conducted his dirty business right under my nose. I mean, come on! How could he look me in the eye, planning our future, all while financially manipulating my own flesh and blood? That raw, acidic feeling of being utterly played fueled an immediate, terrifying resolve. This wasn't going to be a simple breakup. This was the genesis of a fierce sugar daddy revenge. Before I could even confront him, though, I needed to understand what truly motivated my sister to enter into this toxic arrangement. Listen up, because before you can execute a proper career destruction story, you have to clearly define the villains. My sister, bless her heart, was operating from a place of desperation and immaturity, chasing easy money for student loans or rent. She made a terrible, compromised choice, but she was fundamentally the weaker party, blinded by quick cash. Geez, her motive was survival, or at least short-term comfort. David, however, was playing a completely different game. Oh boy, his actions were calculated, predatory, and rooted in a deep sense of entitlement. He wasn't just paying for companionship, he was deliberately exploiting a younger woman he knew was related to my fiancé, leveraging his wealth and power for a twisted secret. Wowzers, that's not cheating. That's psychological warfare wrapped in a $1,000 bracelet. The ethical calculus became instantly clear. My sister needed help and guidance. David needed to be stopped. His deception was a monumental risk to both of our lives, built on arrogance, believing he was too smart to be caught. Holy cow, I realized that addressing my sister's poor judgment was a family matter, but delivering the consequences to David's calculated cruelty, that was a mission, and a necessary one, to prevent him from destroying anyone else's life. I mean, come on, confronting my sister was awful, all tears and shame, but she confirmed everything, admitting her financial desperation was what David preyed upon. That confirmation gave me the cold, hard proof I needed before facing the real serpent. Good grief, when I finally laid out the evidence for David, screenshots, times, places, he didn't panic. Instead, he smoothly executed a masterclass in denial and manipulation. Seriously though, he tried to twist the narrative, calling my sister unstable and me overly emotional. He played the victim, suggesting I was the one ruining our beautiful future over a misunderstanding. He even tried to gaslight me, saying, "You're letting jealousy blind you. This will look terrible for your family." Wowzers, he was so slick, so confident in his ability to lie, that for a split second, I almost doubted my own sanity. Listen up, that cold denial sealed his fate. It proved he wasn't sorry for the betrayal. He was only sorry he got caught, and his priority was still saving his high-status image. The same image that made this career destruction story possible. I realized that letting him walk away would mean letting this predatory mindset continue unchecked. I had all the evidence, and now, fueled by his callous refusal to admit fault, my planning for his permanent downfall began in earnest. Oh boy, after David's arrogant denial, the storm inside me settled into a chilling calm. The tears dried, replaced by a singular focused purpose. I knew right then that a simple breakup wasn't enough. Gosh, that would let him off too easy. He valued his reputation, his status, and his career above everything. And that's precisely where I decided to strike. This wasn't about revenge in a petty sense. This was about ensuring he could never hurt another vulnerable person like my sister again. I mean, come on. My years in corporate strategy suddenly felt like training for this precise moment. My plan for his career destruction story wasn't going to be a messy expose. It needed to be surgical, untraceable, and devastating. I started by meticulously digging into his professional life. Who were his biggest clients? His closest colleagues? What were the vulnerabilities in his perfectly crafted professional facade? I needed insider information, the kind that could only come from someone close. Listen up. This wasn't just about blowing up his life. It was about protecting my sister and any future victims from his predatory behavior. I realized that a man who uses his power and wealth to exploit others must lose that power. The goal was to dismantle his professional standing so completely that his ability to act as a sugar daddy revenge target would be eliminated. The research phase was intense, but it was laying the groundwork for a truly masterful takedown. Seriously though, what makes a man like David tick? His weakness wasn't his heart, it was his bank account and the image of pristine integrity he sold to the corporate world. He was a high-level executive at a firm that dealt with massive, sensitive financial trusts, meaning his entire career rested on unquestionable character and discretion. Wowzers, that was the Achilles heel I was looking for, the perfect target for my sugar daddy revenge. You bet the plan wasn't to send his boss a nasty letter about cheating. That's amateur hour. My strategy was to use the specific, undeniable details of his transactions with my sister, the large, unexplained transfers, the specific, high-end gifts, to paint a picture of financial indiscretion and moral hazard. Good grief, I realized if I could frame the affair not as simple cheating, but as a potential breach of ethical conduct using company-related funds or resources, his firm would have to investigate. The beauty of the plan was that it didn't require me to openly expose myself as the informant. I carefully compiled the evidence, anonymized it, and created a paper trail designed to look like a suspicious internal or competitive leak. Man, oh man, I wanted his downfall to come from within his own world, forcing his peers and superiors to destroy him for me. The stage was set for the execution of the most calculated career destruction story. I mean, come on, this was the critical moment. No room for error. I chose the day right before a major client presentation, ensuring maximum stress and disruption. Instead of sending all the evidence at once, I sent anonymous, cryptic fragments just enough to raise questions about his financial integrity and discretion to a high-level internal compliance officer. Talk about precision. This forced the firm to launch a discreet, panicked internal review, making him look guilty before a single document was confirmed. I used my knowledge of corporate finance and legal procedure to make the leak appear incredibly professional, leveraging subtle terms that hinted at insider trading rather than just infidelity. Wowzers, the evidence of him being a sugar daddy to my sister wasn't the crime, it was the proof of his poor judgment and compromised character that I presented as the real risk to the firm. I had turned his personal failing into a massive professional liability. You bet the firm acted swiftly. They couldn't afford the risk of scandal regardless of the full truth. They froze his access and initiated the investigation immediately. I didn't need to see the fallout to know I had won. I had delivered the first crippling blow to his reputation, turning his life upside down. The final act was simply waiting for the inevitable consequences to play out, securing the end of his career destruction story. I mean, come on, the beauty of a well-executed career destruction story is that it doesn't need a public confession. The firm took care of the details. David was quietly, yet thoroughly, escorted out. His colleagues didn't know the exact truth, but the whispers that he was a security risk, that his judgment was compromised by financial impropriety, were enough to completely atomize his professional network. The man who valued a status above everything had his status utterly stripped away, a fate far worse than losing just a fiancé.
I eventually heard he lost the lucrative contracts, the high-end apartment, and was forced to move back in with his parents, the ultimate humiliation for a man obsessed with independence and wealth. You bet my sister, with proper guidance and support, got away clean, avoiding the long-term emotional damage. I realized that my revenge wasn't just satisfying, it was a necessary act of social defense, eliminating a predator's ability to operate in his high-stakes hunting ground. Listen up, after all that, did I feel bad? Not for a second. The cold, clear satisfaction of knowing I protected my sister and delivered the consequences he truly earned. My life was messed up for a while, sure, but his was fundamentally and permanently altered. My goodness, the lesson here is simple. If someone chooses to destroy your life through malice, sometimes the only moral response is to deliver a consequence that matches the scale of their cruelty.